Hi everyone, I'm Nicholas Tutora. Welcome to Tutora Time. Liz Cheney was ousted from her leadership position in the Republican Party today, and that's a very good thing. Liz Cheney doesn't represent the voice of the Republican Party. She was one of the 10 dissenting members in her caucus who was against looking into the problems in the 2020 election.
Today, we face a threat America has never seen before. A former president who provoked a violent attack on this Capitol in an effort to steal the election has resumed his aggressive effort to convince Americans that the election was stolen from him. He risks inciting further violence. Millions of Americans have been misled by the former president. They have heard only his words, but not the truth, as he continues to undermine our democratic process, sowing seeds of doubt about whether democracy really works at all. I am a conservative Republican, and the most conservative of conservative principles is reverence for the rule of law.
Liz Cheney says she has reverence for the rule of law. Well, in the 2020 election, the election laws were ignored or changed not by state legislatures. They were changed by lower-level officials in an unconstitutional fashion. This isn't even up for question. This is known fact. The courts have just dodged hearing any evidence based on procedure.
The Trump Department of Justice investigated the former president's claims of widespread fraud and found no evidence to support them. The election is over. That is the rule of law. That is our constitutional process.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost.
If there's one thing I can't stand, it's when politicians start to preach from their high horse about their personal morality. Anybody who rises to the level of the Cheney family has done a lot of things that you and I probably would not have done. Her father, Dick Cheney, who was Vice President of the United States, and truthfully, Dick Cheney was the first shadow president of the United States. Nobody really thinks George W. Bush was calling the shots. It was really Dick Cheney. It was Dick Cheney's idea to go into Iraq. It was Dick Cheney's idea to unstabilize the entire region. And what has it been for? Right now, we're cutting back on U.S. oil production, so that portion of the world is going to become very important again due to their oil resources. Dick Cheney planned the entire war. Dick Cheney was on the board of Halliburton, profiteering off the war in Iraq. He was basically an unelected president of the United States. So I'm really not a big fan of the Cheneys, and I'm really not a big fan of them claiming the high moral ground. I don't understand this whole pushback on questioning what happened in the 2020 election. Since when did that become okay, that we're not allowed even to ask a question about how a presidential election is run? I've never seen anything like this before. When you have different people, you have different opinions, and you're allowed to voice your opinions freely. But for some reason, this time in the 2020 election, you're not allowed to voice your opinion, or else you'll be canceled, silenced, or demeaned in society. So I'm glad that the Republican Party, that still supports Donald Trump strongly, stood up and got rid of Liz Cheney, because we don't want to go back to the RINO Republicans who really don't do anything except guard their own corporate payoffs. I think it's absurd that the Republican establishment is so anti-Trump.
We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
The establishment is so arrogant.
Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed.
Do they really believe that the Republicans would have captured the White House if it wasn't for Donald Trump? Ted Cruz wasn't going to beat Hillary Clinton. Marco Rubio wasn't going to beat Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump was the only person out there who was capable of beating Hillary Clinton. And if Hillary Clinton would have won, what's happening right now, the demise of America, only would have started happening 4 years sooner. When Donald Trump was first elected, the Republicans had the House and the Senate, and the RINO Republicans in the House just brought the gears of government basically to a halt. They did not push through all the legislation that was needed because they were too busy hating on Donald Trump. They were too busy hating on the party crasher, basically the Republican establishment and the establishment of both parties, but today, we're talking about the Republican establishment. Basically, the Republican establishment feels that they own the party and the people must go along with whatever they say. You know, John McCain is the perfect example of this. John McCain held on to his Senate seat his entire life with clenched fingers and refused to let go, not even till his final breath. To me, that says a lot about somebody. We needed an active senator in D.C. We needed somebody taking part in legislation, but John McCain wasn't available to do that because he was sick. He actually flew back to vote thumbs down to repealing Obamacare.
Mr. Peters. Mr. Portman.
There wouldn't even be Obamacare if John McCain had won the election against Barack Obama in 2008. John McCain, when he gave his thumbs down to repealing Obamacare, basically rejected the Republican Party and the party that he claimed to be a part of and a leader of for his entire life. Every single Republican in the Senate voted to repeal Obamacare, but John McCain, who was supposedly a leader of the party, did not vote to repeal it. He made sure Obamacare was kept. When push came to shove, John McCain turned his back on the party. We see this happen a lot because these people, they don't really care about the party and they don't really care about the people. They just care about their own power.
The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land.
And other Republicans who preach from their high horse, like Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, and in the past, John McCain, we don't want to be like you. I'm sick and tired of you guys thinking that you're the moral example. You were elected to represent the people, and the party and the people stand with Trump. You know, when they say, was there any funny business in this election? Not only do we have to look at the election, but we have to look at the election aftermath. Since Joe Biden has become president, he's not taking actions that are loyal to the United States of America. He's dismantling the border, letting tons of illegal immigrants in. He sat by now while the pipeline was under cyber attack. His leadership is so weak that there's about to be a global war because they're already attacking Israel. China is doing as they please and giving us lectures on human rights. Biden is calling the country systemically racist and we have a stain on our soul. None of those things is pro-American. None of those things supports the American people or the American philosophy. So if you have somebody who rose to the point of president of the United States, but yet they're preaching hate against the very country they claim to represent, that tells me that they might not be on the up and up. People who would take actions like that, like dismantling the border, ignoring law enforcement, he's completely corrupt, he's sicking the FBI on Rudy Giuliani. People who would take actions like that, I don't have faith that they would follow any kind of laws. They feel that they're above the laws. And just look at Hunter Biden and the way the Biden family interacts with foreign powers and the money they make off it. The laws are for the little people. not for the leadership of the party. Remember, the United States founding document says that when the government is not representing the people and not serving the general interest of preserving the Bill of Rights, it is the right and the duty of the people to dissolve such a government. Who knows? Maybe days like that are coming close. Either the stale, old, tired political philosophy is going to collapse the United States, or it's going to lead us into a war. Liz Cheney and her family are completely bought and paid for. They are the kings and queens of corporate kickbacks and payoffs and political corruption, but yet they try to hold the moral high ground. You know what Trump did wrong? He won. That's what Donald Trump did. They did not believe he could win, and they were furious that he won. In the United States, we're always told that anybody can grow up and be president of the United States, unless, of course, you're Donald Trump. Unless you didn't rise through the political machine. In America, we're told anybody can rise to be president of the United States. And once Donald Trump did that, they set about destroying him. Donald Trump was the first citizen president. He was the first person to become president who didn't work his way up through the political machine, and boy, does the political machine hate that. They'd rather destroy the country than let Trump be president. And plus, Trump showed them up. Trump had peace, prosperity, and the best economy this country has ever seen. There were people out there who were making fun of Donald Trump's peace deals in the Middle East. I guess they like this coming all-out war with Israel and the Palestinians better. They don't care. One of the big problems in the system is the money that backs political campaigns. I don't like the Democrats' idea on public funding of campaigns, but there has to be something done in terms of campaign finance reform. Because when you have unlimited money pouring in, the election just goes to the highest bidder. And it doesn't prevent foreign money from being filed into the country and into our elections. In my opinion, China just decided to buy the United States and then to collapse it to such a point where America will be on its knees and willing to give in. Unfortunately, our nation is being subverted from every angle, and it's down to us, the people, to stand up and fight back and let our voices be heard. And ousting Liz Cheney from her leadership position today was a good first step towards doing that. I'm Nicholas Tutora. I'll talk to you again soon on Tutora Time.